Hey, manufacturing world. Welcome to another episode of Shop Matters, sponsored by Akuma America. I'm your host, Wade Anderson. Today, joining me in the studio here in beautiful, sunny Charlotte, North Carolina. I actually don't know if it's sunny out today, but we're going to go with it. Sunny Charlotte, North Carolina. I've got Nick Goellner with Goellner Incorporated. All of you listening to the podcast probably would recognize Nick more from brands like Hennig and Advanced Machine and Engineering, correct?
Yep.
All
Or the Making Chips podcast.
Yeah, Making Chips,
That'd
absolutely.
be the other place they would know me from. So.
All right. Well,
and,
welcome,
and you're
Nick.
right. It's not super sunny today, Wade.
Yeah.
My wife. I was talking to my wife on the way over, and she was talking to me about a hurricane.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Are you going to be able to fly home?" And I'm like, "Looks fine to me."
That's coming.
It's a little overcast, but that's it. So
my son, I think my son's stationed in the Coast Guard. He was stationed, his first duty station was Sabine Pass, Texas, which is right at the corner of Texas and Louisiana.
okay.
And we're sitting there watching the news last night, and Sabine is going to take a direct hit. So
Yeah, he'll get some experience.
Well, he just got stationed in Virginia for A school. So
Okay.
I texted him last night, and I said, you're either hating life because you're going to miss out on all the action, or you're glad that you're in Virginia and not riding it out in Sabine. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So, Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Goellner and a little bit about the company, what you guys do.
Okay, so I guess I'll start with myself. I'm third generation. I didn't grow up with the typical background for manufacturing. I was actually a fine artist. So,
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah. I used to do a lot of paintings and more on the creative and communication side. So I kind of always felt like a little bit of a black sheep in this industry. My grandfather founded our company. He's a German immigrant, and he invented a machine tool. And that's kind of the catalyst for the whole business.
Okay.
So the machine tool that he invented was the first circular carbide production saw for like high production sawing through steel billet or rail or
Right.
stuff that you can't do with the bandsaw because it just doesn't have the productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of like the catalyst for the whole business. And I grew up with my father, who's an industrial engineer and an MBA type thinker, and everyone's great at math and everyone's great at engineering. And I was always wondering, okay, how do I fit into this thing?
Where do I fit in this equation?
Yeah. And, my father always thought you're probably going to be best with marketing. And I didn't really resonate with me until later in life. And turns out he was right on. I mean, that's my total passion. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's something I get to host a lot of the high school students when we do manufacturing day and things of that nature. I work with our local school district there in York, and we bring these students in, and there's so much more to manufacturing. People, they get stuck on you got to be a machinist or you're an engineer
Right.
or that side of it. But manufacturing involves, every kind of occupation you could think of, from accounting to sales to, in your case, marketing, right? So there's so much more involved in manufacturing than just the G&M code and making chip side of things.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, though, because I totally agree with you, my biggest regret is that I never actually ran a machine tool. Because now I lead a sales department at the company, and there's just no substitute for knowing exactly how to set up a part, knowing the way a great cut sounds. And I've had to learn a lot of that over the past 10, 12 years just through osmosis and through spending just plenty of time, like hours and hours and visits. And after a while, you learn it. But I just think, man, if I had that background of running a machine, it would have been so much more valuable for me.
Sure.
On the other side, because I came through kind of a different route, I've got like a secret weapon, something that a lot of other people don't have. So.
And you got a different perspective on things,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Sometimes you get that tunnel vision. If all you're doing is that one thing, you don't see the bigger picture at times.
Right.
So you can come into some of these situations with a whole different perspective than what I would have, for an example.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of one reason why the company values me is because I've got that bigger picture perspective. I'm always thinking about, okay, what's possible? How can we make our customers successful with this next big initiative? And then the people who have, weathered a couple more recessions than I have or scrapped a few more parts than I have are always kind of trying to bring me down to earth. And somewhere between that perspective and my perspective is where we need to be. So we have that healthy tension between, me, like the entrepreneur, pie in the sky type thinker, and then the more practical, okay, how are we going to get this done type thinker.
Right.
So, yeah.
But I'm a big proponent of you get what you focus on. You look at everything in management is all about measurements. And if you focus on it, that's part of measuring. You focus on it, you can achieve it. But if you think about things from a big picture perspective, I visit thousands of machine shops, get to talk to thousands of customers throughout the course of a year. And you can see certain personality types, maybe might be the right way to say it, but you've got the job shop guy who's just, woe is me, I'm just a small company. Well, I can't do some of the things you're talking about. I'm only a small company. Then you have the other job shop guy who's like, well, yeah, in the next 5 years, this is what I plan to accomplish.
Right.
He's thinking about this big picture, and then there's steps that he's got to take to block and tackle and get there. But he's focused on how big he's going to be, how successful he's going to be, how grand he's going to build this company. And then the guy over here is the one thinking about, well, I can't do that. I'm just small. And that's where his focus is. So he's going to stay in that kind of area. And this guy is going to go places that, and innovate and do things creative that you wouldn't have thought about. So you definitely have to have both of those kind of visions, I think.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the more practical or the more integrator type guy gets a bad rap. And the more I grow up and the more I learn from other people in my company and other people in the industry, the more I value that perspective, even though it's not mine. Mm-hmm. And so we actually set up our whole company that way. So Advanced Machine Engineering has like 5 different business units. Everything from those sawing machines to the work holding group to we've got a whole fluid power product line and a few others. And so we at the top, at the helm of each business group, there's 2 leaders. There's more of the keep his head up and out looking for that next new opportunity, visionary leader. And then there's more keep his head down and focused on, keeping all the promises that the other guy makes.
Right, yeah.
So, and we need that. And there's often a healthy tension between them where one guy's like, geez, can you just stop? Like, we got enough on our plate. And then the other guy's like, well, hey, we got to keep pushing the pace.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's going to take. So we try to find people who have good integrator personalities and find people who have good visionary personalities and have them kind of have that marriage at the top of every business group.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
I belong to a leadership group, and one of the things they teach or talk about is Tentpole Leadership. So they talk about, if you look at people in a tent and you divide that tent into quadrants, you've got different personality types, that kind of live in that tent. And your job as the big leader, if you will, the overarching side of it, is to keep the tent over everybody. Mm-hmm. If you get a guy that's running too far ahead, he pulls that tent pole too tight, and it leaves some of the people outside of the tent over here.
Yeah.
That can cause a lot of problems, and you can get yourself into financial problems and other things because of that.
Sure.
But if you got the guy in the bottom corner pulling too hard this way, then you can't grow, you can't accelerate, but you got to maintain that rhythm of keeping that tent over everybody.
Yeah, exactly. That's the role my father has to play, being the CEO of the whole business. So
Okay. So talk a little bit about the business units then. So you touched on the Advanced Machine and Engineering.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, what you do from that perspective versus Hennig, and how that's set up, what your products are, things like that.
Okay, so AME is broken into 5 main business groups. Design and build is in our DNA. That's kind of, I talked a little bit about how our company started with the invention of a machine. So we have a machine design and build group. Nothing that you would find in a catalog. They need a special custom machine that's going to maybe do a milling operation and then, do some sort of drilling and then chamfering. And instead of putting on 3 different machines and doing one of the processes manually, we'll design and build a custom solution all around that application. That's one group. The second group is the saw group. Yep. So a lot of our business units that, were originated from AME will be this, that for advanced machine, saw. So saw is our high production sawing machines.
Okay.
Then we have the rock group, which is all work holding. We're a work holding integrator. So most known for making a lot of tombstones, probably the largest domestic manufacturer of tombstones. But we're a lot more than that because of our design and build roots. It's always, how do you want to build on the rock? What do you want to put on your tombstone? What can we, combine with this 5-axis base to do more parts on your new 5-axis mill?
Okay.
And we work with a lot of really key partners. Some of them are our think partners as well, to build on the rock. So that's the work holding group. We have a group called the spindle interface group, and it's all about tool clamping. So there's a power drawbar inside the spindle, and then there's a gripper on the end of the power drawbar that grabs the retention knob of your tool holder and pulls it into the spindle.
Right.
That whole system is is what we do in the spindle interface group.
Okay.
Because we're the partner with a company called Ott Jacob. And Ott Jacob's kind of like the de facto standard in the world for tool retention.
Right.
And so a lot of our relationships at our company have come through German relationships that my grandfather maintained. And, when they wanted to, expand into North America, they would go through us, and we've just been technical enough and astute enough and customer focused enough that they've just never decided to greenfield and do it themselves. They've just worked through us. So Spindle Interface Group is one of those. We have a fluid power group where we have a product called the Amlock, and that is for position and hold on like a pneumatic cylinder or hydraulic cylinder.
Okay.
So if you really want to like lock something in place so there's no drift, you would use an Amlock.
Okay.
We have another partner in that group called Satima, another one of those German partners, and those products are for press safety. So like you've got a big power press and you lose hydraulic power, instead of turning a person into a pancake or like screwing up your mold or your die, this locks. As soon as you lose power, it locks.
Locking on the cylinders.
So kind of like how a Shunk VROS pod is pneumatically unclamped and mechanically clamped, and if you lose power, it locks.
Yep.
It's the same principle there.
Okay. All right.
And I think that's all 5. I think I just listed all 5 if I didn't.
Yeah.
Sorry for whoever I forgot. So that's AME. And it's kind of a challenging business because we're so diverse. So when you hire a sales guy, it's like, okay, get ready, because he's got a lot to learn.
Buckle up your seatbelt. You've got a product this wide. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but everything's really designed and built. It's an engineered solution. It's kind of all designed around making manufacturers more productive.
Okay.
So Hennig is our sister company, and Hennig's known for chip conveyors, coolant filtration, way covers, facility safety products, machine protection, that type of product. So a lot of the fabricated products that you'll see on a machine tool, where it starts as a piece of sheet metal, we'll laser cut it, we'll bend it, we'll put whatever components on it that are required so that it can protect itself from the environment, the manufacturing environment.
Right. Okay.
So, you're making chips and you've got a precision ball screw. You need to protect that with a way cover. Or you got precision ways. You need to protect that with a way cover. Or you got an XY shield that the spindle travels on. You need to protect the chips from getting back into the, backside of the spindle head. So,
yeah. Okay.
So Hennig makes those kind of products. And then on the facility safety side, we'll make custom enclosures for machine tools or other equipment, fencing, guarding, more on the fabricated side.
Right.
Where AME is more on the precision machining side.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Those two companies, Hennig and AME, make up the bulk of Goellner Inc. And AME is primarily in North America. We do some export with our machines. Hennig is in, so we're in the Rockford area. We have service centers in Charlotte, in Oklahoma, in Cincinnati, in Detroit, where we're repairing way covers.
Right.
We've got a facility in the Czech Republic, a facility in France, a facility in Munich, a new facility in Bosnia, and partners all over the world.
Right. So big global footprint then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So talk a little bit. I think there's a unique history between Hennig and a company that, from a Okuma perspective, we deal a lot with in Japan with Inamoto.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that history, if you could.
So on the way here, I was trying to brush up on my history because a lot of this happened like before I was born.
Yeah.
So in 1987, the year I was born, Okuma moved from. Tell me if I got.
You're making me feel old, by the way.
So Okuma moved from New York to Charlotte.
Yeah, we started out in Long Island.
Yeah,
and then 87 we moved and came to Charlotte.
And you were manufacturing machines here in Charlotte.
Yep,
at that
ground
time.
up. Yep.
And so Okuma reached out to their largest supplier of chip conveyors, a company called Inamoto, and they said, "Hey, we want to be supported in North America." So Inamoto somehow had a relationship with my grandfather Willie, who founded our company.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Hey, one of our big customers needs North American support. Will you be our partner?" And so Willie said, why don't we license our way cover and our machine protection technology to you, and you license the chip conveyor technology to us. And ever since, we've been sharing intellectual property. And actually, Okuma is the reason we got into the chip conveyor business.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
very neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's funny how small the world can be sometimes. You know, and
especially in this industry.
Yeah, the machine tool industry, we're all intertangled in some form or fashion. And we've been talking a lot about IMTS here lately. And, you know, a lot of us, we talk about going when we would physically go to the show. Obviously, that's not taking place this year. But when you physically go to the show, it's like going to a family reunion. You know, you see all your friends in the industry. And over time, you know, somebody worked for this company. Well, they never seemed to get out of that industry. You know, they just went from this company over here to this company. And, you know, they might be in a new booth, but they're still at IMTS and they're still happy to see you. And you know, it's just like this little get together.
Yeah. I always relate it to the prom. You know, it's like the prom of the industry. Everyone gets dressed up. Everyone tries to lose a couple pounds. Everyone gets their best machines out there. And, you know, there's no prom this year. Yeah. How crazy is that?
Yep. And there's a side of me, you know, it's probably a good thing. I don't know. I'm gaining weight here, you know, while I've been home.
You got the COVID 15, right?
Yeah, I went to COVID 50, I think. So
I'm with you, man. Yeah.
So something, you know, that's I think new and exciting between Okuma and Goellner's. You guys have recently joined the Partners in Think program. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it because before my time, we actually were invited to the Think program. And for whatever reason, I don't want to get into it because I'm sure I would have disagreed with the reason, we declined. Yeah. And then, you know, I think it's a mindset thing. I think it's, you know, I'm about open innovation. You talk about how everyone's entangled together in this industry. Yeah. And it's like the more you think of that as like a beautiful tapestry of like knowledge and expertise, the better it's going to be for your business. But when you think of it as like a tangled knot that overcomplicates things, it's a problem, right? Right. And so I think for whatever reason, we were like, well, why would we join that? There's going to be other people in it. We got to pay or whatever. And we declined. And then I think we've been kicking ourselves ever since. And so we've been wanting to get back into an opportunity where we could get into Think. And we must have sent you about 20 emails over the past 5 years. I know Scott Coley did a good job trying to get us that opportunity.
Yeah, Scott's again. A good egg.
And I was there with, I was at your, what do you call it, the summer showcase? Yeah. At the Think program with making chips because you guys invited us out to do like some sort of on-stage podcast thing. Yeah.
And see, I wasn't even aware of the connection between yourself, Hennig, and then the making chips side. So
yeah, so it was new because like 2 years ago I became partners with Jason and Jim who host the podcast, and now I'm the third host, and we've got a whole marketing agency as part of it too, but that's another story. So, you know, while I was there, I'm just looking around and I'm like, this is what the industry needs. You got all these different brands that all have their different specialty, and they're all working together for the greater good of the end user, you know, just to help people make chips more effectively. And I'm like, man, this sucks that my family's business isn't in it. Yeah. You know, I'm here I am like doing a podcast, and I'm looking at all these other companies, many of them that I partner with, like Shunk. Right. And I can't even, you know, like have my own say here. So I don't know what the catalyst was for you to give us another shot. I think one of Scott's emails finally made it through, and you gave us another shot. And, you know, I'd like to hear from you. Why did you consider us?
You know, it's interesting. I like getting asked questions. You know, usually I'm the one sitting here asking questions. So I appreciate that. So from my perspective, I looked at it from a different take. You know, Scott, good sales guy, right? Very persistent, you know, all the time staying in front of me. But I wasn't interested in the chip conveyor side. We've got partners that are fantastic partners from a chip conveyor standpoint. We do a lot with them, inventorying, things like that. And that was the avenue that just kept coming up was Hennig, chip conveyor. Right. Like, you know, thanks, but no thanks. If you keep adding kind of the same flavor to the partner program, you just water it down for everybody. Sure. So I felt like we've got options on that. Don't need another chip conveyor company. But then we started working together on some other projects. A gentleman that reports to me is a guy named Tom O'Toole. He's our double column product specialist manager. And he manages all the big machines, you know, all the big double columns. You could put a house on the table of these things. And most of the ones we bring in without a full enclosure because everybody's needs are a little bit unique. And it never fails when we bring the machine in from Japan with our corporate full enclosure on it. There's modifications that's got to be done. There's different things that you have to tweak to make it fit for this customer. And Tom had worked with you guys on a customer application. I don't know if we can say their name, but a customer application.
Sure.
Everything, it was from a project management standpoint to final execution and sign off was just flawless. And
Is this the video?
yes.
Yeah, you could say their name. It's a company called Blueco.
Yeah, Blueco.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
It's
where
one
we
of my
didn't prep
favorite
it, but-
videos. So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Yep. So, that was one side of it. And then looking at what you guys do from an AME standpoint with, basically custom integration of work holding, automation, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer that automation, as much as we talk about it and it's the wave of the future and it's here now and all we're doing, we're focusing a lot of automation. There's so much more that can be done, but it takes creative minds, and it takes not just the creative minds, but the horsepower behind it to execute it.
Yeah,
and you guys
exactly.
brought that. So for me, bringing you guys in from a Partners and Think standpoint wasn't about chip conveyors. It was about all the engineering horsepower and fabrication, machining, and things like that you guys bring to the table.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And for us, we take a big risk to employ that many different kinds of engineers. And I'm sure you're familiar with this industry. When you have to design and build a solution that you may only sell once, it's challenging to be profitable.
Yeah.
And you got to try to think, okay, so is it worth it for us to have this kind of capacity?
Mm-hmm.
But we've always decided that we're going to be a design and build company. That's going to be one of the things that makes us unique. And we have a high tolerance for risk.
Mm-hmm.
We go after the kind of projects that other people will be like, there's too many things that could go wrong.
Right.
That's where we raise our hand.
Yep.
And so, I think you hit the nail on the head for like our value proposition. Between everything that we do at AME and Hennig, it's all designed around how do we make our customers successful, and we staff accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
So we have controls engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, all sorts of different kinds of engineers, and then the manufacturing capacity to actually build the stuff and test it on our floor and make sure it works before we ship it out to the customer. So
Yep. I think you touched on something that I like and I gravitate to is you've got a high tolerance for risk. I think there's a lot of companies that they think about innovation and they want to do these cool custom one-off, skunk works kind of projects as long as it's guaranteed to be a home run success, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't guarantee that.
Yeah.
So I think you either have that in your DNA or you don't have it in your DNA.
Right.
You have a proven manufacturing process and you don't want to waver from that, or you've got it in your company DNA that you're flexible, you're Gumby like, where you can you take the risk and know sometimes it's a home run, sometimes it's going to be a dud, and you got to be able to level load that and be able to ride the peaks and valleys and make a business unit off of it. I think it's a different.
You just nailed it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's we think of our custom machine design and build business group as kind of our R&D department, because for every time you make one of one thing and you maybe didn't make a bunch of money on it, there's that fourth or fifth time where now you need 10 of them, or now it, like you said, could become a whole business unit, a whole new product line.
Right.
So by having that DNA, like, it allows us to kind of create opportunities for ourselves.
Yep.
Whereas if we were to be like, hey, you just balance sheet only type thinkers, like, I'm just going to look at the Excel sheet and here's the look, hey, that, that's not making money here.
Yep.
Next thing you know, it's like, okay, well, you have no capacity for innovation anymore because all you do is focus on making the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot to be said about being able to make the same thing over and over again and doing it well. And there's a lot of really great, lean minds who can optimize that whole thing. But for us, we'll never lose our inventiveness.
Right.
And
I think that's important. That's part of the entrepreneur spirit, that
Yeah.
you have to be able to grow into different markets. And, I've seen people, there's these CEOs that are turnaround specialists, they come in and turn a company around. And you can see there's different personality types or different philosophies with that. And there's some that are really good at not losing money. And then there's some that are really good at making money. Mm-hmm. And those are two complete different philosophies, different mindsets.
Yeah.
One is more about avoiding risk and being safe and doing, your spreadsheet type management versus the other one of how do we balance that with taking the risk and growing and stepping out into things that make us uncomfortable.
And this comes back to the whole visionary and integrator at the head of every business unit.
Yeah.
Because I got one thinker who's like, okay, let's protect this, and the other one who's like, let's go attack.
Right.
You know. So.
But if you don't get out of your comfort zone and try something, you never expand that boundary. You know, you can't push the limits to see, well, why can't we do that?
Right.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. Like starting a podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Not a lot of people think of that as like, you know, and to your point earlier, there's so many different kinds of professional career paths in this industry.
Right.
You know, if you're really into content marketing and you like the idea of creating a podcast, you know, you can get a job at one of the biggest brands in the whole industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I started out, I think I've said this before on this podcast, but, you know, my first job from a chip making standpoint was turning chips on an Akuma LB15.
Okay.
You know, now full circle, you know, I'm working for the company that, you know, I started making chips on. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Kind of interesting how it goes. And to your point, if you'd told me when I was graduating high school that I'd be sitting across the table from a guy that, you know, was in marketing and talking podcasts and things like that, I told you were crazy.
Yeah.
Now, you know, all these years later, I won't say how many years, but here I am, you know.
Yeah.
I went from being a machinist and doing service work and application engineering work to now I'm more on the sales and partner side of things. And
yeah.
It's interesting how there's so many different opportunities in this field.
Exactly. And what I found is the people, you don't really like ask for a promotion. You just kind of go take that new job. You see an opportunity, you just go kind of make that your job.
Yep.
That seems to be a common thread with successful people in our industry. Is you just find an opportunity and you just go start doing it, and it just becomes your job.
Yeah,
you know
that's a very good point.
So,
yeah, this whole podcast thing. Yeah, this isn't my full-time job, you know, by the way, people listening, it's just something we do, you know, to supplement, you know, part of what we do in the industry. But to your point, it was exactly that. It was just, you know, hey, this idea was kind of kicking around the company, and, you know, it's kind of one of those things of somebody needs to do something about this. Somebody ought to, okay, well, be that somebody. So, and that doesn't matter if you're talking maintenance on a machine tool. Somebody ought to be maintaining this machine properly. Well, be that somebody. Be the guy that gets in there and makes it happen.
And make a YouTube video that shows exactly how to do it for the next guy.
Right.
See, I think you took it a step further than a lot of people would. You know, a lot of people would have this conversation, two people on the phone. But by recording it, you know, we get to inspire so many more people.
Right.
And so a lot of people will know how to do maintenance. But if you record it and do like a how to fix your chip conveyor or whatever it might be, you know, now all of a sudden you can inspire more people. Yeah,
your reach just got expanded.
Yeah, so it's all just, you know, being open to new possibilities and being open to innovation.
Right. So this conversation's gone a lot of different routes here, but talk a little bit about from the viewpoint of a customer. You know, I'm Wade Anderson. I own Wade Anderson's pretty good machine shop. I make these widgets. I'm a job shop. I'm going after work. How do I expand that? How do I grow that? You know, how has marketing changed in today's world than what it was 5-10 years ago?
Okay.
I think we're seeing things more at a very fast rate as technology changes and people are adopting YouTube and podcasts and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you see from a marketing standpoint? And again, view it from, if you're the shop owner, you're the guy making chips. Keep going back to your making chips reference.
Yeah, we got a good name.
It's such a good name, right? But you're the guy making chips, and how do you expand that business? How do you reach new people? I mean, what are things you're seeing marketing's changing?
Yeah, so probably the biggest thing is more of a mindset thing. So I think there used to be an overemphasis on protecting your intellectual property and what I would call like closed innovation. So the best ideas come from our company. We're gonna keep everything internal. We're gonna kind of hide our secrets. And I'm not saying like give all your detailed CAD away.
Yeah, your IP.
Yeah, there's value to that, and you do have to protect it. But I think it's kind of like, okay, so if I share my process, my competitors could find it and take it and do it better than I could.
Right.
And so a lot of people were hesitant to like even take pictures of what they're doing or share what they're doing or explain to to even their customers, like how they do it so well, because they just are it's like a fear-based mindset about what if my competitor gets a hold of this.
Yeah, the what if mindset.
Yeah, and I think you can turn that, you can make it positive and say like, well, what if my audience learns why I do this or how I do it, or what if the next young talented machinist that I'm trying to hire, the next young talented engineer sees what makes our company special.
Right.
And so by being more open and sharing what you're doing, you'll start to see that, yeah, a lot more people see it. Some of them may be your competitors, but the people who you want to see what makes you special, how you process a part or how you design something, or, you know, what's unique about your approach, the more you share that, the better it actually is for your own company.
Right.
You know, forget about if your customers are going to find it, because if they really want to find it, they're going to find it anyway.
Right.
It's really not that hard to get a hold of stuff. You know, you can buy it through somebody else and reverse engineer it or whatever. You know, if you really want to find something on your competition, you probably can. But I think the companies that are open and saying, like, here's what makes us special. I want to be the leader in this area. I want to teach others. I want to inspire an entire audience that may include some of my competitors, but I'm going to be the reason they learned about that.
Yeah.
Instead of like they learned about it from my competitor because they beat me to it. So I think that's probably the biggest like philosophical change that I've seen, and it's really hard being on the sales and marketing side of our business to get people to like let go a little bit.
Right.
You know, because I'll be trying to pull insight from our engineers and use it, you know, to inspire an audience, and they're always like, well, do I want to share that?
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I'm not gonna like publish your CAD everywhere, okay?
Right.
You know, but I like, here's an example. I have 2 educational blogs on my website. One of them's called The Sawing Academy, and the other one's called Work Holding Wisdom.
Yeah.
And we just literally publish our insight on there for anyone to see. Anyone could use it.
Yeah.
And a competitor could visit it. But I'm more interested in, you know, the next partner that I want to be reading that site and saying, wow, I want to work with them. Or the next customer to read that and be like, you know, I trust them. They're going to be able to design a fixture around my part.
Right.
So I think for that, Joe's Pretty Good Machine Shop, you know, it's like, what makes you special? Don't be afraid to share it.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
If your machinist has his phone out in the shop and he's not playing a YouTube video or watching something that's distracting him, but instead he's taking a short clip for an Instagram or whatever it is to try to get your brand out there, that could be the best thing that you've ever got going on for marketing, and it's pretty much free.
Yeah. Yep.
So
excellent. There's a guy I watch on kind of different industry, but along the same kind of philosophical view. But trying to think the name of it. I think it's Blue Collar Kyle on Snapchat. And he wears, I think it's the Google glasses, got the little camera built into it. And
yeah, the HoloLens, yeah.
Yeah, he does the body shop work. I just find it so interesting that, you know, all the stuff that I've always wondered, how do you do all that? Well, he's showing you, you know, point blank, day to day, and why his skill set is so valuable as a skilled trades type person.
Right.
But yeah, to your point, you know, every competitor could see it as well. I could see it, say, oh, well, I'm going to start doing my own body work, but, well, no, I'm not, because I do other things that adds a lot more value to my life. I've done up a fender. I'm taking it probably to, you know, Kyle's Pretty Good body shop somewhere, right?
Exactly, because I've already seen it. I know this guy's good.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like the same thing Home Depot or Lowe's does. They show you how to fix your dishwasher or whatever, bro.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm the moron who gets like halfway through it, and it's like, dang, I should have just called their service guy.
Right.
He made it look so easy.
Yeah.
So.
I would have been money ahead if I'd have just had somebody come in here and in an hour be gone.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Well, very good. What do you see in the future? I mean, what kind of future trends do you see in manufacturing?
So, you know, I'm more focused on the business development, sales, and marketing side. And so my perspective kind of goes through that lens. But one thing that I would say that I see coming in the future is something that I'm calling like product and content integration.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is like, you know, for example, I'll just use an example like that we use because it's fresh in my mind. You know, if you're if you have a damaged way cover and you look at our name tag, there's a QR code on it.
Right.
And you can pull your phone out and scan that QR code. It's going to let you know everything you need to know about that product. Helpful videos, where our local service center is, the difference between a steel way cover and a bellow. Just on the actual physical product, it's gonna be amplified. The value of our physical product will be amplified by the digital content that we create around it.
Okay.
And I see that happening more and more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can get real futuristic into virtual reality and augmented reality to the point where I've seen some really good examples of people, standing in front of a machine with, an augmented reality device or virtual reality glasses where it's telling you, like, as you look at it, open this, check this, this could be what's wrong.
Right.
A lot of that digital amplification of the physical product.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something we're going to continue to see, and that's exciting for marketers.
Yeah.
Because that's where we live.
Right.
We're always describing the value of products, and so I think it's great when the actual reason someone buys your product is because of how well you crafted content that supports it.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So.
Well, I think we're coming up about on our time slot here. Nick,
Yeah.
I really appreciate you joining us. I appreciate all of you listening to this episode of Shop Matters. If you have any thoughts, ideas, questions, you can reach me at www.okuma.com/shop-matters. Nick, how do they reach you? What's a good way to get a hold of Hennig, AME, and
all of
Goellner?
our websites make it really easy to get into contact. You can reach me at my email address, nickg@ame.com. And, of course, you can find me at Making Chips, just makingchips.com, all one word. And subscribe and, get some more insight if you got other podcasts you want to listen to.
Excellent. I appreciate your time today. Till next time.